Good evening, everyone. It's May 6, 2019. I'm Eric. This is a flashback. The reason I'm doing these flashbacks is because through the constant bombardment of information, we lose sight of the most important stuff. And I would say Maine Core is one of those important things. So, this was reposted by Michael Schneider, and it's archived from September 5th of 2015, or 13 rather. And by the way, the only thing that has changed since 2013 is their progress. Alright? So they've made progress since then. They continue to make progress. They keep living. We keep dying. We keep standing still. And it's to our fucking detriment. Are you on that list? Are you one of the millions of Americans that have been designated a threat to national security by the U.S. government? I'm sure probably I am. And if you're not on the list, then you should be ashamed of yourself. Will you be subject to detention when martial law is imposed during a major national emergency? As you will see below, there is actually a list that contains the names of at least 8 million Americans known as Maine Core that the U.S. intelligence community has been compiling since the 1980s. A recent article on Washington's blog quoted a couple of old magazine articles that mentioned this program, and I was intrigued because I didn't know what it was. So I decided to look into Maine Core, and what I found was absolutely stunning, especially in light that Edward Snowden has just revealed to the world, has just revealed. Wow. How time flies, right? It turns out that the U.S. government is not just gathering information on all of us. The truth is that the U.S. government has used this information to create a list of threats to national security that the government would potentially watch, question, or even detain during a national crisis. If you have ever been publicly critical of the government, there is a very good chance that you are on that list. The following is how Wikipedia describes Maine Core. Maine Core is a code name of a database maintained since the 1980s by the federal government of the United States. Maine Core contains personal and financial data of millions of U.S. citizens believed to be threats to national security. That data, which comes from the NSA, FBI, CIA, and other sources, is collected and stored without warrants or court orders. The database's name derives from the fact that it contains copies of the main core or essence of each item of intelligence information on Americans produced by the FBI and other agencies of the U.S. intelligence community. It was Christopher Ketchum of Radar Magazine that first reported on the existence of Maine Core. At the time, the shocking information that he revealed did not get much attention. That is quite a shame, because it should have sent shockwaves across the nation. According to a senior government official who served with high-level security clearances in 5 administrations, there exists a database of Americans who often, for the slightest and most trivial reasons, are considered unfriendly and who in a time of panic might be incarcerated. The database can identify and locate perceived enemies of the state almost instantaneously. He and other sources tell Radar that the database is sometimes referred to by the code name Main Core. One knowledgeable source claims that 8 million Americans are now listed in Main Core, and I'm sure that number has grown since 2013. After all, it is, 6 years later. So, this is the list that determines whether you end up in an internment and resettlement camp or not. And of course, what happens to you from or in that camp highly depends on the threat level that you're assigned. What is that called? The threat matrix score. If you have a high threat matrix score, if you get captured, you're dead. Okay. Of course, federal law is somewhat vague as to what might constitute a national emergency. Executive orders issued over the last 3 decades define it as a national or natural disaster, military attack, or technological or other emergency, while the Department of Defense documents include eventualities like riots, acts of violence, insurrection, unlawful obstruction or assemblies, disorder prejudicial to public law and order. So, again, this is what determines what happens to you in such an emergency. Now, recently, the Democrats in, I think it was 5 states, and I'm not 100% on that, but it was more than one, has blocked Donald Trump's ability to be on their ballots. So, and it's not that I don't think there's something major going on between the two sides. There clearly is. But you don't have to be... there's 2 different sides, right? There's the elitist Democrats and then the elitist neocons, like everyone Donald Trump has around him. But I digress. And they're fighting it out as to who is going to ultimately have control over us. Donald Trump, or the neocons, or the neolibs. Because a classical liberal would never, ever act that way. They would never behave with such authoritarianism. These are neo-liberals and neocons. And they do work together to get some things done. Don't get it twisted. But at the end of the day, that's what all this shit is between these 2 parties. It is about who is going to have control over us. Frankly, I don't like the idea of any of them. I mean, these motherfuckers make things like Main Core. Why does anyone think either of these sides have a legitimate leadership? They're not. There's nothing legitimate about these people. They commit more crimes than any of us. But hey, it's cool, right? It's cool. Nothing's gonna happen. People are going to keep getting along in the same way we've been getting along, right? Everything's just gonna keep going. There's no end to it, right? No. I would have to argue otherwise. I think the United States is going to be hit with a famine like a motherfucker. And for all the fucking food and foreign aid our country has given to other nations, there will not be very many countries out there that lift a finger to help us. And of course, it's meant to happen. It's supposed to happen. All of this is supposed to happen. In politics, nothing is coincidence. Nothing. So, get ready. I'm glad I found me a little job to help pay for some more shit, some more fucking guns and ammo and food and all that shit. We don't have very long, people. Not years, months. Probably less than 9. So, there's my thoughts on this. Remember this stuff, because this stuff hasn't gone away. It's growing and growing and growing and growing, and it hasn't stopped growing, and it never will until we end it. Now, one last thing. Boycott the 2020 elections. I need some people to help create a campaign. We need to create a viral video, commercial type video. And I need somebody's help. Who's up to it. Let me know in the comment section. If you like my work, my content, please give me a thumbs up. Maybe a share. Subscribe. I have a PayPal link and Discord links below as well. Till next time, kill the state before the state kills you.